Welcome to WHACHACON's Tabletop World, a channel devoted to the love of board gaming. My name is Sweetness Whachacha, and today we're looking at how to have your own small, intimate, friends gaming convention. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons why you might have a intimate gaming convention. One of them is Gen Con is this huge convention, and a lot of people who can't go to that like to do something called Gen Can't, and so that's a way for them to have their own little convention and get a lot of gaming in if they're sad that they can't make the big event that is Gen Con. Also birthdays, otherwise like things like family reunions that you might do it. If you have a lot of people, I can't imagine having a family full of gamers. Oh my god, that sounds amazing. I don't have that. So I'm going to focus on one of the ways I've done this. I've done it in a few different ways now, but one of them it was called WHACHACON. Now I did this a couple times. I did WHACHACON, WHACHACON 2. My handle is Sweetness Whachacha, and so I did WHACHACON, and then I did WHACHACON 2, Sweetness Strikes Back, and then of course if I ever did a third one, I was going to be like Return of the Sweetness, or like all the '80s kind of franchise, movies. I was going to do Sweetness in Space for the fourth one, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. So personally, just a little background about me is I used to live in New York. I had a lot of friends, a lot of family there, and I kind of moved to the middle of nowhere, and to be with my wife, and now I have kind of like had to start from the ground up again. Don't really know a lot of gamers out here, and so that's kind of why I end up spending a lot of my time doing solo gaming and stuff. And so I thought, this is about, 10 or 15 years ago, maybe a little less than that, I decided to do a convention called WHACHACON. And so my wife and I, through our business, we developed a lot of points for our hotel rooms and things. And so I went back to New York, rented a suite, and I planned out a gaming convention. And I did it, of course, the following year as well. I did it right around my birthday for 3 or 4 days. I think, 3 or 4 days. I can't remember exactly now. As I said, it's been quite a number of years now. So let's look at some of the things that you might consider. Well, firstly, I'm going to do a bunch of ones that are going to seem like dismissible, that they're going to seem like, yeah, I understand that. Let's get to more of the meat of the conversation. But they're not really dismissible because they actually end up being very, very important. And the first one I want to talk about is the space, of course, where we're going to have it. Firstly, as I said, we had the ability to, rent a suite because we had a lot of points, built up for hotel rooms and things like that. And if you're going to have it at your house or whatever, well, that's kind of a no-brainer in a way, because you're used to having your bathroom there and your kitchen and everything that you might need in your home. But not everybody has that kind of space. So number one, of course, renting a space is of course much more expensive. It might be the only way you can go for it. For me, like one time in town, I had an event for my wife. I moved all the furniture in the house to set up a movie screen and do we did set up like a projector, and we had like a movie marathon with her favorite movies as like a treat for her. And so I moved all the furniture now. So it is, it gives you an opportunity to clean those corners and things that you don't normally do. So it is, you shouldn't feel, of course, it's a lot of work to move furniture and slide your couches around and everything. But, for a special event, if you're going to do something for 3 or 4 days, it's worth considering, especially if you have some friends that are going to be at the convention that you're close with or whatever, and they don't mind helping you, shuffle your furniture around a little bit. You move it in the start of the first day, and then you have that extra space and stuff. And I think that is important. People, having enough room to pack their chairs out and go behind people and look and stuff. If somebody's out of the game for a little while or something, it's a lot more psychologically nice not to feel so trapped in and so closed in. If you have to rent someplace, you could use a library. You could use your local game store. The only thing, if you have it in your local game store, if you wanted to maintain a little bit of intimacy and you didn't want other strangers and things to jump in, is that, strangers and things may ask to be involved in the game, and that's one of the risks that you run having it in a local game store. If you wanted to rent someplace, you can always look into your local city. There's usually some kind of community space. Oftentimes that's a fire department. Fire departments usually have like a hall attached to them that you can rent fairly cheap. Within reason, fairly cheaply, depending on where you are. So you can contact your town hall and stuff like that. And there's usually some kind of communal space. Obviously, if you're in a month that you can do something outside, that's a consideration as well. Although, I think that's kind of a crazy idea because of wind and weather and things blowing pieces around and stuff can be a lot more challenging to an already situation that you already have a little bit of a challenge to. One last thing about having the space that we chose, which was the suite, was that there was a kitchen area so we can make food, and that's going to be the next thing I'm going to talk about. There was room enough for a table. There was like a kind of a couch and TV area that was set off to the side. And that was good because like some non-gamers and stuff, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, that was like an area for anybody that was out of the game or wanted to take a break, or if there's people who came that weren't gaming, they could kind of sequester themselves to that sort of an area. And then also having like, access to a bathroom and stuff like that. That was everything all there, so it was kind of a nice consideration for the space. So food is the other big consideration. And before you like just dismiss it completely, if you're going to do a multi-day convention, you're going to game for several days, eating a lot of like chips and salty snacks and things like pizza and stuff that's not really that good for you, eating that every single day for 4 days, it starts to have an effect on you. Especially you're using your brain a lot, you're thinking a lot, you're taxing your body in a lot of ways, especially like it's a bit of a marathon gaming situation. And so, you're taxing your body, and that's not healthy. A lot of times you're just sort of mindlessly chomping on things while you're playing. You're not really even thinking about it or necessarily enjoying it. And I'm not saying you can't have chips or Doritos or kind of crappy snacks and candy and stuff like that, but definitely limiting it to some degree, especially like drinking soda constantly and stuff, not the best idea. I think having like nuts, having peanuts or cashews or something like that, something that's got a little bit more protein or something, having some healthier snacks like some veggies and things like some carrots, you can even have some dip to mix it up a little bit better. Just from my experience, that's a huge difference, having some healthy food there and available for you. Having water or non-soda type drinks available, again, such a huge thing, staying hydrated, keeping all your body feeling healthy and your mind working really well, and not, getting yourself kind of like run down over the course of a few days. Coffee is another great thing for the end of the night, to have some, coffee, espresso or whatever, have something like that available as the hours start waning and, people stretch and they're like, okay, we'll get one more game in, have a little bit of coffee, give you a little bit of a pick-me-up for the last little leg of gaming. So I think that the food and drink kind of planning is almost as important, honestly, as the game playing itself and the game planning. Next is the schedule. Firstly, I would definitely schedule enough breaks and things. I know from my own experience, I invited my friends Dimitri and Kat out before to come out and visit me out in the middle of nowhere, and we ended up doing a lot of gaming, and I feel like you get a bit fried. And I found they came out a second year, and I was like, okay, when they come out this year, we're gonna break it up. And I think that like you play a game, then you go for a walk. You get up, physically remove yourself from the gaming space. You walk around, get some fresh air outside, have some conversation. You can talk about the experience that you had in the game. You can blow off some steam. Sometimes tempers, you don't want that temper to go, or people getting angry or whatever to carry over to another game. Even like after a couple of games, maybe breaking it up with something like a TV show or watching like a comedy special for an hour, something mindless so that your mind can kind of turn off and sort of rejuvenate a little bit, and it will break up the time a little bit. And obviously you don't want to like play a game and then watch a movie and then come back and play a game, because then you don't get as much game playing in. But definitely being able to stagger that time somewhat, I think, is really important, because I know for me personally, I'm just like game, go again and again and again. And I don't think that's very healthy, and it burns you out and it burns your brain out and stuff like that, and then you don't enjoy the other games as much. And then, people can start rubbing up against each other, and by day 4, you could be ready to kill each other. It gets a little spicy in the later days of a gaming convention. And the other side of the schedule part of it is scheduling the games themselves. Now, I know in the past when I've done it, you don't want, just think about it when you go to Netflix, when you're like, what do I want to watch? And you spend 35 minutes picking out what you want to watch. And if everybody sort of has their idea of like, I don't know, maybe this game, maybe that game, you're not getting a lot of gaming done. You're just getting a lot of like hemming and hawing about what to play. But you don't also want people to feel like they're, locked into certain games that they don't want to play, and that it's too rigid, and then they just don't want to play at all. So I think finding a nice balance is there. And my approach was to kind of put out a bunch of games and say, listen, what are people interested in? About a month ahead of time, I put this out, because it takes people a long time to get around to answering questions sometimes. So about a month ahead of time, I sent out a thing and I said, hey, what are you interested in doing? What are these games you're interested in doing? And of course, offer for them to suggest things as well, and then find out what people are interested in playing. And you want to have a nice mix of different kinds of games as well. Then you might want to include some video links and things for them to watch your reviews and things of the game to get a better idea. Maybe give the length, weight, and general synopsis of the game so that they don't have to do too much research. Then you take whatever people are interested in playing and you kind of spread it out over your 4 days or 3 or 4 days or however long you have. And so each of the days, I would usually start with my core people that were more hardcore into it, that were going to be a part of it longer, and I would play like kind of campaign games or anything that was heavier. Now I'm going to use a little bit of an analogy for when I've done movie marathons before, like I've done some Tony Forum era movie marathons, with my friends and things. And when you do stuff like that, you want to put the heaviest movies, the more, the movies that people are most excited about, you want to put them earlier on in the schedule so that people have the most energy and the most attention span. Then as the evening wears on, you want to have lighter and lighter movies. Once you get into like, midnight or so, you definitely want movies that are lighter, maybe more comedic, maybe not as, introspective or quiet, or, you want to avoid the slow burn type movies. And then in the wee hours, in like the 5 o'clock a.m. hours, that's when you want to have your movies that are, everybody's seen them before, they're shorter, they're like, because people are going to be nodding out and stuff. So you want to arrange it in a certain way, and you don't want any game to be like, or any movie in that sense to be like an hour and a half. And relating it back to games, you definitely don't want to have, obviously this is a great opportunity to have everybody play like something like Sleeping Gods, if you can't get everybody to play that normally, but having a 6-hour game in there, then it just becomes a Sleeping God thing. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but I think generally limit them to shorter games. So as I started with was I got my more serious people, and I had like a campaign or a legacy game, and I would play that, and I wouldn't pick anything that would last over 2 hours. And so we would do that at the beginning of each day, and then that way people that are coming late or people that weren't as serious, then they could come a little bit later in the day. So then I would start with that kind of a block, and then when people kind of came to the next one, then you'd have something like more like a medium weight. If you're going to play a little bit on the heavier end, that's one to play that, I think. So play a game like that. And then as the evening wears on, then maybe go to the next game, be something a little bit lighter, maybe like not gateway-ish, but a more of a medium weight game. And then after that, just social deduction, party games and stuff like that, stuff that's a lot lighter that people can kind of like, kind of dial down or sort of like get out of that mode, like rev the engine down, I guess. Also having a nice little pile of, filler games, fantastic idea, because that's a great opportunity like for people running late, or if you're like, okay, well, I'm just kind of done, I don't want to stop playing, but I don't want to play in these long games, great opportunity to play a filler game. So having, unplanned, just have a pile of filler games, whether you use them or not, they don't take up a lot of room, and just kind of have them available. Another nice thing is all of those games, I like to kind of put them on the table and kind of, if you have the space for it, kind of have them there as a nice little showcase for people to kind of look over and get excited about. And then also they can see those, like if you're out of a game or something for whatever reason, you can look at some of the games that are upcoming, get an idea of them. You can, they're just available for people to look over and then say, oh, this is a cool little filler. I like to play this when, the next kind of break we get. So, that's kind of how I like to do the schedule. Front load it with the heavier stuff, have those committed players for any kind of a campaign game like locked in the beginning, and then have the games get lighter and lighter until the end of the night. You're just kind of playing those games that are more party-ish, so the mental strain is the best. Your bandwidth is an important thing, as I say, so for everything, for breaking up the schedule with walks, drinking a lot of water, having some veggie snacks, healthier snacks, and that whole flow for the weekend, so you're not just in one big block of like, that burns you out. Now, one of this consideration that I don't really have to deal with, but you might, is the idea of splitting tables. And of course, like having bigger games, this is when a schedule becomes more important, and then you have to deal with the idea of like keeping those, those tables, locked in the whole game. Like you don't want one game to go a lot longer and the other one not to go as long. So that kind of brings its own challenges. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot to say about that because I haven't really had those experiences, and anything I could say would just be, like just me guessing about that. So that's a little bit of a trick that I think you'll have to figure out, unfortunately, on your own. Now, I mentioned a little earlier about non-gamers, about having like a little space for people that are out of the game and stuff to kind of sit and chill, having a little movie on, something like that. I think it's important, this is what I did it because I have a lot of non-gamer friends as well, and to say, it's important to let them know, like, look, the purpose of this little convention is to play games. And one little danger you have if there's too many people there that aren't playing games, looking over the shoulders, making conversation, distracting those players, and also sort of changing the nature of the convention. Now, a friend of mine was like, well, maybe you could have some more party games and stuff. I was like, look, this is my opportunity in this case, in this WHACHACON thing I did, I was like, this is my opportunity to play games that I don't normally get to play. And so I would love those people to be around, but you need to understand that this is the focus of this convention. Of course, having a little area for like boyfriends or girlfriends that aren't interested, or spouses, or just friends that don't really care about games. Having a little area, they can chill, drink some coffee, chat, even bring something like if they're knitters or if they do some art or something like that. Some kind of little quiet thing that they can kind of like glob onto your little convention. It's nice to have a little area for them. Of course, you do have to, like I say, you should got to kind of be a little firm, not cruel, of course, but say, hey, look, we're here to do this. So make sure, be respectful of that, the fact that we're here on a specific task, and you can watch. You can comment, you can feel free to like make food and stuff. Sometimes it's nice, like I like to make dinner for my friends. I like to cook for people. And so like if I was going to a convention like this and I didn't like the game, I might think it might be fun to come and like cook a bunch of food and be like here and just facilitate the people that I care about and allow them to have a nice time as well. And then enjoy, that process as well. So that's another kind of option if people like to do that. So that kind of wraps up the discussion. I do want to mention a couple of other things though, real fast. I did have another convention with my friend Jesse from Co-op for Two. We had Co-op Con. We did a few of these. It was his idea to make up some t-shirts. And that's a really fun thing that you can do to kind of commemorate or remember that. And so we had the Co-op Con, and then we had the number of it, and then we had a catchphrase, which was usually like an inside joke or something that we'd come up with together that we had like a little laugh about over the year, and that was kind of a nice little callback and a nice little memento I have in my trunk of memories there. And that one we did a little differently. We kind of we approached it differently in different years, but we had some staple games that were our games that we felt a connection with, that we played with in previous years or just in general, and we felt like, hey, we should bring these back. And so we had some like that. Sometimes we would maybe each of us pick a day and plan that day out, of course being respectful not to pick something the other person would not enjoy. And so that was kind of a neat thing. We did that one predominantly at our local game shop. But people knew we were kind of playing and had our own little schedule, and they didn't really bother us, so they didn't really jump in. But it was kind of nice to, we could go and walk for food. There was a bathroom there. There's games there, of course. But we would have kind of planned out our schedule there as well. A little easier to plan a schedule when there's just two people. So that was kind of nice. I tended to want to play stuff that maybe we hadn't played before and get a lot more games in. That's kind of like when I play these, do these sorts of things, I want to get a lot of different experiences. Hopefully this won't have to ever happen again, but some point during COVID, it was we sequestered ourselves. We both got tested. Again, I had some points built up, so I rented a suite in town here, and the two of us sequestered ourselves there, and we had a multi-day gaming convention. So that was kind of a unique setting that we hadn't played in so long because we couldn't see each other because of the pandemic. But it was a nice opportunity to get together and do that. And it was in the same way I did WHACHACON or the way we did the Co-op Cons, but this one was in town at a hotel, given those extra circumstances of the COVID virus. So yeah, I hope this was interesting for you. Hopefully this gets your brain working a little bit, and you think, yeah, maybe that would be fun to have a little gaming convention of my own. I know there's a lot of people that throw actual bigger conventions. There's some like turnkey operations that are out there and stuff that you can buy and things like that. But this is sort of just like a fun thing to do for a birthday reunion or for just your own personal, enjoyment. So comment below if you have any other questions or ideas or interests or whatever. But for now, I gotta roll.